LES.com.
Spring often marks the beginning of severe weather, which can lead to power outages. LES wants you to be prepared before the storm. Restock your emergency kit, update your info with LES, and if you encounter an outage, report it at les.com/report.
Electrical Enterprises in Roca reminds you, the men and women of our military dedicate themselves to serving our country. Their commitment and courage keep our country safe and strong. Let us honor those who have lost their lives in the line of duty and salute those serving today. This from Electrical Enterprises in Roca. For all your residential and commercial electrical construction needs, call 402-438-5822. We live in the land of the free, thanks to the brave.
This is area race announcer James Rowland. Join me and Bree Fansteel every Sunday night from 7 to 8 on 93.7 The Ticket for the Finish Line, where we cover all things motorsports from local racing to racing around the world. Every Sunday night from 7 to 8 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Good morning. Welcome to All Things Youth Football, Football 101, whatever we're calling it. We're just discussing youth football.
Yep.
My name's Jim Sandman. I'm the president of the Lincoln Youth Football League. I'm joined today by Mike Lamanu, former president, AD, coach extraordinaire, AD at Union Bank and Trust, also coach for the Nebraska Red Wolves. What we're doing today, since Tank is with his grandson camping, football camping that is, he asked Mike and I to come back in and kind of continue the conversation that we started last week.
Yeah, because you had a good conversation last week.
Yeah.
Great conversation.
Great going from what we had into what the younger young men had. And Ben, I know you made quite a few comments about some of the things that those kids know. And
well, I'll just say this: they know a lot more than I did at that age. I'll tell you that.
Well, and with the times we have now, and the
resources,
the resources.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Resources are a huge thing for these kids now compared to what we didn't have back in our playing days.
There used to be this thing called an encyclopedia. I think
the OG Google.
That was. I'd never really used an encyclopedia, but I know what it is. I feel like kids now don't even know what an encyclopedia they probably never even heard of that.
Yeah, I got to deal with paper cuts and everything else, trying to flip through real books. So we are going to kind of continue where we left off and drop in. If you have any questions, make sure and hit us up on the Starter Heyman text line. It's 402-464-5685.
Nailed it.
Most of the guys that listen to this show, I feel, know Mike and I, so they can always text in and say what's up. Let's just kind of start off, Mike. So we were discussing last week kind of the shift that we had, right? The rebrand that we had. That was what, 6-7 years ago now?
Yeah, somewhere around there, around probably like 6-7 years ago. Obviously, the former name of the organization was Lincoln Midget Football. Obviously, we wanted to get away from the midget term in there, so we changed our name to Lincoln Youth Football. And it was more, the rebranding was more than just a name change. We went much more in depth with coaching certification, coaching education, ensuring that the football youth here in Lincoln had a better opportunity to develop those young athletes by having our coaches go through certification, ongoing education, bringing in different techniques, exposing our coaches to more things, giving them more tools in their toolbox, so to speak, in order to help develop these young men into better football players and men and women of better character.
There you go. Yeah. So we can kind of walk through that. I mean, with the day and age now, like Ben just said, with the encyclopedia, I mean, anybody can sit down and Google drills. It's just the question of actually doing it, right?
Or even if you're wanting to coach a youth sport, anybody can go ways to coach youth sports in Google, and you're getting a million things that'll pop up.
Coaching for dummies.
Yeah, coaching 101 for dummies.
Then the question becomes, what's wrong and what's right for you, right?
Yep.
So let's go back a little bit. So Swede and the rest of that crew, rest in peace, R.I.P. Swede, had run the league forever, right? They were there when back in the day when we had fields spread all over town, right? Then we were able to consolidate, and our park now is down next to Sherman Field, right? We have all of our different levels, working on expansion to make it bigger. More stuff to come on that soon. But Joel Kramer, who had kids playing at Union Bank and Trust, kind of stepped up into the unaffiliated commissioner, or excuse me, president of the league, correct?
Yeah, he was our first elected president under the new banner that we had, my predecessor. And he really got the ball rolling in moving Lincoln Youth Football into a more modern, up-to-date entity that we are working with now.
Sure.
Joel had some great ideas. He's a great leader. Helped us establish our bylaws of what that we govern our league through now. Instrumental in helping develop our rule book, our player handbook, and things of that nature, really helping getting that ball rolling to where we are what we are now, growing and developing, not just in size, but with the talent and football IQ that our kids have now.
Sure. And it was important as we were doing that. It should be said, we discussed last week with the worries that we had with concussions and everything else. There was a lot of parents that were just worried to trust people they didn't know with their kids. So
the concussion thing was a big deal. Before I was here, I was coaching ball in Arizona, and we saw the repercussions that the very real scare that concussions can be. And one of the first things I addressed when we came here, which, obviously talking with Joel and our commissioner, Mike Selvage, and several of the athletic directors, was how do we remove the head from the game? And, I brought in some tackling techniques, some blocking techniques that I had been using for years, coaching high school ball in Arizona. And we began to implement those and teach those to our coaches, and really start then getting that to trickle down to our kids, funnel down to them, and helping remove the head from the game as much as we could, and hopefully reducing concussions. And I believe that the techniques that we implemented have worked.
Sure.
I'm not saying we're not going to stop all concussions, but I believe with what we did, we were able to reduce the occurrence.
Sure. And having USA Football, the partnership we have with USA Football,
Absolutely,
with their training with the tip of the spear technique and everything else, and now building on what you've brought in and what we've been able to teach coaches, that's just part of our certification, right? We go straight into teaching the hawk tackling, and actually it's developed now past the hawk tackling, right?
Yeah.
But it's just the changes like that, So we start with small changes. Selvage comes in as the commissioner, Joel's the president. Numbers start to tick up nice and easy, right?
I wouldn't say it was nice and easy. When towards the tail end of the concussion scares, we saw, I think it was my third year. We saw a pretty sizable increase, and we've been since then. What was that, like 18? We've been steadily seeing a pretty hefty uptick in participation with the youth here in Lincoln, to the point to where some of our districts are busting at the seams with kids.
Yeah.
And and that's a great problem to have, as long as you don't run out of equipment like some of us do.
Hey, that's when we trade back and forth, right? It's the beauty of the league owning all the equipment.
I still think I have like 20 sets of your shoulder pads.
Yeah, you do, but that's all right. I'll get it from you later. I know where you practice. Well, let's build on that. Let's keep going with that a little bit, Mike. So I came in to the board when it was Leon's, right at the end of that concussion scare, right as we started on the uptick, right? The year we had Snowball.
Probably like for those kids who got to play that weekend, which I think the Union Bank Neiman game was the only game that was completed.
Right.
To kind of give prefaces, it's a Sunday in October. It's chilly out at 9 a.m, but not bad. Forecast was calling for a trace of snow
and we
before
got
noon.
dumped on.
And so we're warming up. Grass is still green. By the time it gets to kickoff, there's a good amount of snow. By the third series of the first quarter, you can no longer see the field. Justin White from Elks, Joel Kramer, our president at the time, are out there literally shoveling sidelines. We have a driving blizzard. I'm literally wearing a pair of jeans and a thin shirt because the thin long sleeve shirt, because didn't think it was going to get that cold. A referee's beard had icicles coming off of it. I mean, it was nuts. And I mean, even the referees came up and like at halftime, do you want to finish the game? Myself and the Neiman and Sons head coach are like, we're halfway in. Just
Might as
finish it.
well.
I mean, we've got limbs snapping from weighted snow. Over on the rookie field, teams didn't want to even take the field. They're huddled in the bathroom, saying that it's too cold. I mean, it was I know that eighth grade team that I coached, those guys like Colin Fritton and all those guys, they come every time I see them. It's always a topic of conversation. Yep. One of the most memorable moments they have ever had is being able to play in that sloppy game that was absolutely ugly. But it was, I mean, to this day, we still talk about it.
Right. Yeah. Great time. It's one of those late fall storms, early winter storms where we get literally 3.5 to 4 inches in a couple hours, and then it's gone by the end of the day. Right. But as you said, we had limbs breaking and falling out of the trees. Any of us that could grab shovels and clean sidewalks were out there trying. We've talked about my son. It was his first year, right? He didn't know if he wanted to get on there. And then he realized how much fun it was to get in the snow. We actually went home making snowmans with him tackling the snowman.
Yeah. I mean, we ended up having, at the end of that eighth grade game, we ended up as league saying, we got to scrap it just for your safety.
Wasn't safe at all to be on the roads or anything that day.
Yeah, but it was definitely a memorable moment.
Sure. Well, the reason I bring that up is that was kind of the day that I cemented myself in with the board, right? I wasn't even a member of the board yet. I was just a coach, and realized that what we were doing down there was important, right?
Yeah.
Because even though kids were scared, right? Some kids didn't know what to expect, right? And when those big ash trees and the maples start having limbs fall out, it's a scary deal. But they weren't running to their parents. They were running to the coaches.
Yeah.
You know, they were, coach, what do I do? But then you look and you talk about your older kids. A lot of those boys that were on that team, they didn't leave right away. They were cold, but they wanted to stay and help.
Well, they wanted to have a snowball fight once the games were over.
We had a text on text line. Says the Win Bees team I was coaching was so disappointed when we got canceled. We were in warmups.
I get it. I mean, I talking with so many of the other coaches throughout the league. They were like, man, we would have loved the opportunity to play. Because like, it's so rare for us to actually get the chance to play in snow.
Yeah.
I mean, I know growing up, like between youth and high school, I think I only got 3 snow games, and only one of them was actually got to play like in the snow. Everything else was like, a little bit of snow, but never really built up. I mean, I kicked off a game that was, I think it was my senior year of high school. We kicked off, it was like 20 degrees out. I mean, literally an ice field. Every kid dreams of being able to have that opportunity. And it kind of sucked that we, I mean, obviously we had to because of safety concerns.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been an awesome experience for all these kids to be able to play one game, organized ball in the snow.
Sure. Well, the reason I bring that up is, in my opinion, that was a major shift in the league, right? From the leadership that we had and using technology, right? We all had our text messages going the whole time. What are we going to do? What should we do? Back and forth. I feel that we all worked together real well to get that done. And yeah, by the way, Gene Cotter, I know that was you that sent the text, because I remember you were coaching that day, and I remember you were the second phone call that I got wanting to know what we were going to do. So shout out to Gene Cotter, former Leon's coach, current Allo coach, big guy with the stars, fan of the show, fan of the station. So thanks for texting in. But again, the reason why I bring that up is that helped, in my opinion. It cemented us as a board.
Well, I think it's, everybody looks for, that galvanizing moment within any organization, whether it's a team, a business, what have you. And I think that was at least since I've been here, that was our first real point of struggle.
Sure.
And you think about it like, oh, it's inclement weather. Was it really a struggle? I mean, for what was going on at that moment in time, yeah, it was a big struggle because just trying to communicate with everybody, figuring out what we want to do, where we wanted to go, if we just wanted to postpone, did we want to cancel? And literally, I'm coaching a game at the time. And we were able to have solid communication. Everybody's running back and forth, text messages going, and it seemed to work. But it all, then, it also forced us to get a little bit more proactive as far as planning and putting policies and procedures in place as a league is, hey, what do we do in situations like this? And it forced us to start brainstorming and start thinking of worst case scenarios and then what we're going to do. How are we going to adjust our policies and procedures in order to address these before they happen and just have that contingency ready?
Sure. Helped us to work on our first form of our emergency action plan for the park, which luckily enough, knock on wood, we don't have to use that a whole bunch, but we still have it. It's still in place and it grows just like any other form, right? So we're going to keep building from there. Okay. Steps from the snowball, right? From there, within half a season, I come on board for Leon's at the time. Then within the first year, I end up as secretary of the league. Within 2 weeks, right? 2-3 weeks after I was elected, maybe 2 months, Joel gets the new job.
Yeah.
Right. Joel transfers down to Texas.
Well, I mean, it's also a very, very surreal experience because I literally get a phone call from Joel and he's like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? I'm like, nothing. He's like, hey, why don't you come over for a barbecue? Selvage and Sandman are coming over also. It's like, okay.
We figure it's just going to be our first executive meeting.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I was like, oh, maybe they don't want me to be vice president anymore. And then, of course, he comes in, lets us know. I was like, hey, I've gotten a job at UTEP. I'm leaving for it. You're now the league president. Oh, okay. Not quite ready, but I had plenty of plans. I had plenty of enthusiasm and energy. And we hit the ground running. I mean, we tried to get, we wanted to get 7-on-7 rolling. Unfortunately, COVID hit. So our first year of 7-on-7 got scrapped.
See, you messed it up. That was going to be the brick wall. See, Joel left, we hit the ground running, and then we hit the wall.
There's always something. But so, I mean, there was a big hurdle that we had to overcome there. Obviously, we were highly concerned because at that point in time, that early in the year, we haven't even officially hit summer yet. And we were looking at registration, not just for 7-on-7, but even registration for tackle. And numbers weren't looking great. But then by the time summer hit, at that point, everybody's sick of masks. Everybody's done sitting at home. We decided as a board, we're not scrapping the season. We're pushing through. And luckily enough, we were able to, work with the city. We were able to work with parks. We were able to work with the health department. We put a contingency plan together after quite a good number of FaceTime, Zoom, text message meetings, in-person meetings. We were able to get that season going. And we lost one game to COVID.
Yep.
That one game, team got exposed and then couldn't play. But I mean, that year went off relatively without too many hitches. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, scheduling was a bit of a nightmare, having fans in the park, distancing, and by the time fall came around, everybody was sick and tired of the distancing and just wanted to get some semblance of reality, of normalcy back. But we pulled that off. And at that point, when we got through that season, it was like, if we can get through this league is stronger, better and stronger than it's ever been. And we knew that we could push through anything.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, the numbers, which we were anticipating numbers were going to be low. Like our numbers were high in the middle of a pandemic.
Probably because of how many kids just wanted to go and do something.
Oh, absolutely.
We were the first organized league to start playing again. But yeah, let's go to break and we'll continue that when we come back.
Yeah, you're listening to Youth Football 101 right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ready to score big with your projects? Look no further than Edward Stone, the MVP of natural stone for over 2 decades. Edward Stone is cranking out over 30,000 square feet every week and offers a winning lineup of over 70 quality natural veneer stone selections. Their unbeatable variety and experienced team will ensure your project is a success, whether it's a home renovation or a commercial build. And hey, they're not just about stone. They've got an all-star lineup of fireplaces, cast stone, brick, and much more. Swing by one of their locations in Lincoln or Omaha today and experience the Edward Stone difference, your reliable choice for over 20 years.
Spring in Nebraska brings green grass and warmer weather, but it also brings severe storms which can cause damage to your home. Meadowlark Exterior specializes in hail, storm, and wind damage restoration, as well as roofing, siding, and gutters for commercial or residential buildings. Meadowlark Exteriors focuses on fine craftsmanship and proves that in their attention to detail. They offer free roof inspections and estimates and insurance claim assistance, serving the Lincoln and Omaha surrounding areas. Call today at 402-875-2956 or go to meadowlarkexteriors.com.
Alcohol has strained our relationship. Drinking too much can cause harm to friends, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, we will save our relationship. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them?
By their clothes,
their age,
the way they speak. Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
What a day. I could sure use an afternoon pick-me-up. Hold up. The new 93.7 The Ticket location has a milk, coffee, and tea inside? Oh, yeah. This is a game changer.
Need an afternoon pick-me-up? How about a coffee or smoothie on your way to work? Stop by the Ticket Mill location on 1040 O Street to get your go-to drink or try out our new game day drinks exclusive to the Ticket Mill location. We know it'll make your day a million times better.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back to Football 101. Football 101 Everything Youth Football.
It's got multiple names.
There's multiple names and multiple entities. That's all right.
That's the way we do it here.
That's how we roll. Hey, so I want to just finish up talking, about COVID. And I'd like to start by saying, we were talking about all the meetings and everything before Joel left and everything going on. Shout out to Mike Selvage for all the meetings that he had to have with the city.
That was brutal. I every time I'd find out about something going on, that health department's having a meeting here, or city parks and rec, they got to a point where I was kind of feeling bad because I was like, hey, I need you to go to this meeting. I need you to go to that one. I remember the one that, with LPS, and I probably let Mike know maybe 2 hours before. I was like, hey, what do you think about going? He's like, I don't really want to. I was like, I think somebody needs to go though. Okay, I'll go. And he went and he stuck it out, and big shout out to him for everything that he went through. I mean, getting the hand sanitizers, putting all the stickers down, getting the fields painted for, social distancing, all that stuff. Looking back at it now and what we all think about COVID now, it's like, and I kind of sucked having to do all that work, but it was very necessary in order for us to be able to have our season.
Sure.
And honestly, our season would not have happened if it wasn't for all the work that Selvage did.
Yeah, and just everything Mike does now, right? You don't ever really realize that Mike doesn't get his flowers as much as he should for everything he does for this league, right? Yeah. Works nights most of the time. He's a firefighter here in town. Does a great job keeping us in line, right? But yeah, so let's move on a little bit, because we were discussing, if we're talking about COVID and we wanted to talk, you and I have talked in length over the last, many years that we've known each other about coaching development, right? And having COVID brought up, the last thing that we had before we got shut down was Coach Shannon White here in town has a group called the Capital City Youth Football Coaches Association, right? We've had them forever. That very last one we had was COVID. It was down at Huddle. We literally had it down there as they were doing state basketball, and then they shut everything down the next week.
Yep.
So it's a good lead into what we have, right? We've talked before about when a lot of us came into the league, and I want to preface this by saying it's not a bad thing, right? Dad's coaching football is how I got started.
It's how most of us got started.
So please don't think that we're trying to dog on anybody that has done this before us, right? We're not saying that we have all the answers, but we've said, I've heard you say multiple times, Mike, that as a coach, you have to be a pirate.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to steal from everybody else and make it your own.
Right. So the beauty, I think, of what we're doing now with LYF is not that we're stealing, but we're sharing.
Yeah.
Right. During season, we may not always see eye to eye. All of our clubs, we may not always get along, but off season, we are making a point to work together as much as we can to improve football in Lincoln.
Everybody knows, you want to talk to me about stuff during football season. You want to talk X's, O's, and schemes. No, I'm not gonna sit down with you in season, because I don't want to tip my hand or my coach's hands to what we're doing. But come that Monday after city championship game, I'm willing to talk shop with you all day, every day,
sure,
as long as you want. It's I will share everything I have in the off season with you. I have cut ups of drills. I have schematics of drills. We want to talk about special teams. You want to talk about installs, practice planning, whatever you want. I will share it all with you.
Sure.
Because ultimately, I look at the men before me that taught me and helped me get to where I'm at now. They didn't have to. I mean, it's you're an educator as a coach, and you're not just educating the kids. You should be also educating other coaches. If you have an ability that somebody else doesn't, share that ability with them. Teach them how to get there. Because that's the only way that we're going to raise Lincoln Youth football. It's the only ways we're gonna bring football or all sports here in town up, is to share what we have.
Sure. Well, drop it back a little bit. I keep going back to COVID. I don't know why, but in my opinion, it was kind of one of the foundations of what we are today.
It was an
right?
exciting time in our lives.
It's just about as exciting when Mike finally realized how annoying I could be over text when I was texting him going, hey man, you and I are talking about coaching back and forth. You should start recording it and throwing it online so we can share it with everybody.
Well, I mean, then, we started I started doing stuff at, Fundamentals, doing some coaching. We started the coaching roundtable for Lincoln Youth Football, getting a bunch of guys together and just sharing ideas. Initially it started off as kind of like coaches clinics, and then it just kind of evolved into kind of spitballing, throwing stuff on the wall, guys just asking questions, and kind of leaving it at not necessarily a free for all, but an open forum for the guys to come in and learn, and being able to not just sit there, get on a whiteboard and draw stuff up, but get those guys out on the turf and show them here's the progression of the drill that you want to learn how to run X blocking scheme. Okay, well here, we start from ground zero. Here's stance, here's footwork, hand placement, here's your footwork progression, here's how you work point A of this drill at point B, and how you progress it is like, well, we started off with our rookie kids, then this is the progression for our D, this is C, B, A, and just taking it all the way up and giving them the full breakdown of what is going to help make their program that much more successful with whatever skill or technique they were trying to learn.
Sure. And we've had multiple discussions on this show about, excuse me, about where we have to start, right? Building the fundamentals and going up through, right? Because we've said we can't do multiplication until we get down and do addition and subtraction, right? Having the fundamentals start. And, we've talked our winter clinics that we do that we're using not only to train our kids, but to train our coaches. That's fundamental, right? That
absolutely.
Is basic, but it's something that in most of our opinions, if not all of our opinions, we need to drill over and over and over.
Well, the big thing is, I always, whenever I'm presenting at a clinic or a coach's roundtable, everybody has that one special kid on the team that I can put the ball in that kid's hands and he's going to do dynamic things. But I can't always teach Jimmy to be that same kid that Joey is. So it's always going to come back to fundamentals, because when it hits the fan, the fundamentals will always get you through. And if we are sound fundamentally, doesn't matter what happens, we can always fall back on the basics and they will get us through the tough times. At least give us an opportunity to compete and not have to worry about always looking for that one special kid. So what happens when that kid he's sick? Family goes on vacation. He's injured. That special kid's gone. What are you going to do now? Throw the playbook in the air and
give up?
Unfortunately, I've seen that happen with coaching staff.
That's not an option here, though.
Well, sure.
Not an option.
Sure. Well, we discuss all the time, and you and I have had multiple conversations that we have to teach the fundamentals, but on the other side of it, we've always said it's not always about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmies and Joes.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's the Jimmies and Joes do make a difference, because you're always going to have that team that is athletically just maybe superior. Their worst day is going to be better than your best. It's okay. So the Jimmies and Joes do matter, but at some point in time, if Team A is here and Team B is here, and then that's rookie year. We've seen it where eventually come 8th grade year, they're either pretty close or that Team B has now surpassed Team A. So, it always comes down to what gets the job done. And we always know that fundamentals are always going to be there and they're always going to help us execute.
Basic, right? Yeah. Think back to when I first came into the league and the only thing that I knew was Power I. That's all I knew. But that's what I coached, because that's what I knew.
Well,
you can't coach something you don't know.
Well, you can try.
You can try.
It's not going to be very successful.
Exactly. I mean, I've seen it happen throughout my long coaching career. And it's that square peg, round hole. I looked several years back. I looked at a team the last team that I actually coached, was a head coach up here in Lincoln Youth Football. I looked at what I had, and I was like, I'm not going to be really good running the ball. But I've got 6 really good receivers. I do have a running back or 2 running backs I can catch, and I got a quarterback that can sling the ball. The end of their 7th grade year, I was like, guys, get ready. We're going air raid next year.
Mm-hmm.
And, hey, I mean, live by the sword, die by the sword. I mean, we threw the ball a lot, like 85% of the time.
And I bet the kids had fun doing that.
I mean, linemen were...
Maybe not the linemen.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, we struggled at run blocking. But, like, our receivers, our quarterback, those kids had some fun. And we slang that ball around the field. You know, and I also look at it, it forced other teams to become a little bit better at pass defense.
Mm-hmm. Learn cover 2 really, really quickly.
You know, I mean, use ball. I mean, a lot of coaches just want to play man.
Yeah.
I got 6 dynamic receivers. Try and catch up.
Plus the fact that, you know, you said that line crew maybe wasn't the best at run blocking, but boy, could they pass. Bro.
Oh, yeah.
They could drop back and get set really quick.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of that, I mean, with the offensive, is it still like, you know, kids that young, do like your linemen like to run block more than pass block? Because I feel like, you know, in like college and high school, a lot of those offensive linemen like run blocking better because, you know, you get to go like downhill.
Well, I mean, our kids, they enjoy run blocking. Yes. Certain aspects, certain play. Like they look at their wristband, I'm calling the play. They're like, oh, sweet. Counter, power, got it. I'm calling inside zone or dive. It's like, meh. You know, these guys wanted to pull. They wanted to get around the corner. Yeah. They wanted to get that kick or have that tackle come around the edge and get that log. You know, that was more. They definitely liked our perimeter run game significantly more than they liked our interior run game. But I mean,
you have to have both though.
Oh yeah, but then you look at other districts within the league. Say, for instance, Elks up north, surrounding the Northeast High School area. Those linemen up there take pride in playing in the trench. Those boys, it is a badge of honor to sit there and run, dive
up the middle
5 times in a row, averaging 6 yards a carry,
and dare you to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know what's coming.
Yeah, stack the box.
Oh yeah,
do it.
Yeah. What Justin's done with those linemen up there, those young men are true big skill players.
Oh yeah,
they're not linemen, they're big skill. So
he has really turned that lineman group from young age all the way up through their A division. Like they take pride in being, you know, having a slobber knocker type of game.
Yeah, well, Justin will be one of the first ones to tell you that there's 2 positions on offense that you can't fake. One's quarterback and the second's line.
Yep.
Anybody else, receivers, running backs, we can get by with some skill, right? But you have to learn what you're doing. If we're talking about the work that they're doing on the east side of town, the work Justin's doing, let's talk a little bit about the rivalry between Mike Lamanu as head coach of the West Side All-Stars against Justin White and the East Side All-Stars.
You know, I mean, for the first few years, like, so for those that don't know, at the end of the Lincoln Youth football season, we do an 8th grade All-Star game at Seacrest as the nightcap to Championship Sunday. And it's the East districts against the West districts.
Great time.
And, you know, you pick the best 24 to 26 players from each side of town and go at it in a fun exhibition game. You know, in season, during, you know, like Union Bank, I think has gotten the better of Justin White and his Elks program over the years. But there's just something about the All-Star game. Was it 3 years in a row now I've lost it?
I'll eat that too.
But here's what I will say.
You.
Hey, awesome. Justin, you can have that exhibition game. The West Side still has the trophies.
I wanted to mention that because if we're taking it back to fundamentals, right? What you and I and the coaches on the West side of the team, what you install in that short amount of time, you know, we're running true hardcore know,
Well, I mean, I look at it, and part of it is that, I look at, because it's Union Bank, it's Allo, Neiman, and Police on the west side. So I also look at the high schools where most of those kids are going to. So what are the plays I'm installing? I'm literally going to games on Friday nights or Thursday nights, watching what those high schools are running. And I was like, okay, I'll use that. And I'll kind of prepping those kids for blocking techniques, plays, routes, reads, coverages that they're going to be running based upon the program that they're going to go to.
Sure.
I mean, and each program here in Lincoln isn't too dissimilar from one another.
Right.
I mean, everybody does a little bit of the same stuff here and there, some little new subtle nuances of what they do at the high school level. But we try to bring in the plays that they're going to be playing when they get to high school.
Sure. And, the reason I bring that up is how impressive it is, in my opinion, that those kids can take that on in the 2 weeks that we throw it at them.
Well, also, I mean, look at the sheer volume of coaches that these kids have at the All-Star game with that All-Star team compared to the number of coaches that they have during their regular season.
Right.
I mean, these kids probably have like 3, maybe 4 coaches in the regular season.
And there's 10 to 12.
Yeah, you come to All-Star practice and there's 10 to 12. We got 2 coaches per position group.
Right.
So the number of eyes and the amount of coaching they get is significantly greater. So yeah, we can expedite things a little bit more during All-Star prep.
Sure. Okay, let's go to break and we'll come back and finish up.
Awesome.
You're listening to Youth Football 101 right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just a professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. For happier, healthier